The auctioneer's voice echoed through the crowded hall like a death sentence. 20,000 naira. Do I hear 25? Amara stood on the platform, hands trembling at her sides, head bowed in shame. The lights were too bright. The eyes staring at her were too many. She wore the same faded blue dress she had worn to her mother's funeral 3 years ago. Her feet were bare. Her hair, once thick and carefully braided, now hung loose and tangled around her shoulders. She was 22 years old, and she was being sold. 25,000, a voice called from the back. Amara's stomach turned. She didn't look up. She couldn't. If she looked at the faces of the men bidding on her like she was furniture, she would break completely. 30,000, another voice shouted. The auctioneer grinned. We have 30. Do I hear 35? This wasn't supposed to be her life. 6 months ago, she had been a university student, studying nursing. She had dreams. She had plans. She was going to be the first person in her family to graduate. Her father had promised her that much, but her father's promises turned out to be lies built on borrowed money. 40,000! Amara flinched. That voice was closer now, deep, calm, confident. The auctioneer's eyes lit up. 40,000 from the gentleman in the front row, going once. 50,000! Gasps rippled through the room. Amara's heart pounded so hard she thought it would burst through her chest. 50,000 naira! That was more than most people in this room made in 6 months. The auctioneer hesitated, scanning the crowd. 50,000 naira, that's a generous bid. Going once. Or going twice? 100,000. The room went completely silent. Amara's knees nearly gave out. 100,000. Who would pay that much for a girl with nothing? The auctioneer stammered. 100,000 naira from the gentleman in the black suit. Do I hear more? No one spoke. Going once, going twice. Sold. The gavel came down like a gunshot. Amara's vision blurred. Her breathing became shallow. She wanted to scream, to run, to disappear, but her legs wouldn't move. She stood frozen on that platform while the crowd began to murmur and disperse. Then she heard footsteps, slow, steady, coming toward her. She finally lifted her head, and her blood turned to ice. The man standing in front of her was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in an expensive black suit that fit him like armor. His face was sharp, handsome in a dangerous way. His eyes were cold, calculating, like he was looking at an investment, not a person. But it wasn't his appearance that made Amara's hands start shaking uncontrollably. It was his face. She knew that face. She had seen it before, years ago, in her father's study. In the living room of their old house before everything fell apart. This man had sat across from her father at the dining table, smiling, shaking hands, drinking tea her mother had prepared. This man had called her father brother. This man had destroyed her entire family. And now he owned her. Before we continue, kindly tell us where you are watching from. Like and subscribe. Let's continue. Amara had been 16 when her father came home with the news. We're moving, he had announced, his voice shaking with excitement, to a bigger house, in a better area. You'll go to a private school now, Amara. No more struggling. Her mother had looked worried. Ejik, where did you get the money? Don't worry about that, her father had said, waving her off. I have a business partner now, a good man. He's helping us. The business partner's name was Mr. Chukwudi Okafor. He was a real estate developer, her father explained. Wealthy, connected. He had offered to invest in her father's small furniture business, and turn it into something bigger. Amara remembered the first time she met him. He had come to their house for dinner. He was polite, well-dressed, and spoke with the kind of confidence that made people believe everything he said. "Your father is a talented man," Mr. Okafor had told Amara that night. "With the right support, he'll build an empire." Amara's mother had smiled, but Amara noticed her grip tightening on her father's hand under the table. For 6 months, life was perfect. They moved into a 3-bedroom house in Surulere. Amara started attending a private school. Her father opened a new workshop with modern equipment. Money flowed in. Then one morning, everything collapsed. Amara had been getting ready for school when she heard shouting downstairs. "You lied to me," her father's voice roared. "I did no such thing," Mr. Okafor's voice replied, calm and cold. "I gave you money. You signed the papers. That makes the business mine." "You said we were partners." "Read the contract again, Ejik. You borrowed money from me. The business was collateral. You defaulted on the payment. Now the business belongs to me." Amara had crept to the top of the stairs and peeked down. "Mr.?" Okafor stood in the living room, flanked by 2 large men in suits. Her father stood across from him, trembling with rage. "You planned this from the beginning," her father whispered. "You knew I couldn't pay you back in time." Mr. Okafor smiled. "I'm a businessman, Ejika, not a charity." "I'll take you to court." "Go ahead. I have lawyers. You have nothing." That was the last time Amara saw Mr. Okafor. 2 weeks later, her father's workshop was seized. Their house was repossessed. They moved into a 1-room apartment in Ajagunle. Her father stopped talking. He stopped eating. He spent his days staring at the wall, muttering to himself. Her mother tried to hold things together. She sold food on the street. Amara dropped out of school and started working as a housemaid to help pay rent. But it wasn't enough. 3 years later, her mother collapsed at the market. Heart attack, the doctors said, stress, exhaustion. She died 2 days later. Amara's father never recovered. He started drinking. He borrowed money from loan sharks to gamble, convinced he could win back what he had lost. He couldn't. The debts piled up. The threats started coming. Men with machetes showed up at their door, demanding payment. And then, one night, her father disappeared. He left a note. "Amara, I'm sorry. Forgive me." 2 days later, the loan sharks came for her. "Your father owes us 200,000 naira, the leader had said, a man with a scarred face and dead eyes. "He's gone. So now you pay." "I don't have that kind of money," Amara had whispered. "Then you'll work for us, or we sell you. Your choice." She had no choice. Mr. Okafor's driver opened the door of the black Mercedes, and Amara climbed in, her legs still shaking. Mr. Okafor sat beside her, silent, his eyes fixed on his phone. The car drove through Lagos, past the crowded streets of the mainland, across the bridge, into the quiet, tree-lined roads of Ikoyi. They stopped in front of a massive white mansion surrounded by tall gates and security cameras. "Welcome to your new home," Mr. Okafor said without looking at her. Amara said nothing. Inside, the house was cold and pristine. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, paintings on the walls that probably cost more than her father's entire life. A woman in her 50s appeared, dressed in a crisp uniform. "This is Mrs. Nkechi," Mr. Okafor said. "She manages the household. You'll take your instructions from her." Mrs. Nkechi looked Amara up and down with barely concealed disgust. Follow me." Amara was led through a maze of hallways to a small room at the back of the house. It was plain, clean, with a single bed, a wardrobe, and a small window that overlooked the garden. "You'll wake at 5 a.m., Mrs. Nkechi said. "You'll clean the house, prepare meals, do laundry, and anything else you're told. You don't speak unless spoken to. You don't leave the compound without permission. Understood?" Amara nodded. "Good. Your uniform is in the wardrobe. Change and report to the kitchen in 10 minutes. Mrs. Nkechi left, closing the door behind her. Amara sat on the bed and stared at the floor. Her hands were still shaking. Her mind was racing. He doesn't recognize me. That thought hit her like a punch to the chest. Mr. Okafor had looked at her like she was a stranger, like she was nothing, but she remembered him, or she remembered everything. And in that moment, sitting in that cold, empty room, Amara made a decision. She didn't know how, she didn't know when, but one day she would make him remember, she would make him pay. The first week was hell. Amara woke before sunrise, scrubbed floors until her knees ached, washed dishes until her hands cracked, and fell into bed each night too exhausted to cry. Mrs. Nkechi watched her constantly, criticizing every move. "You call that clean? Do it again." "The food is too salty. Throw it out and start over." "You walk too loudly. Are you a cow?" But Amara said nothing. She kept her head down. She worked. The mansion had 3 other workers, a driver named Amaka, a gardener named Chidi, and another maid named Blessing. Blessing was the only one who spoke to her. "Don't let Mrs. Nkechi break you," Blessing whispered one night as they folded laundry together. "She does this to every new girl. If you survive the first month, it gets easier." "Does Mr. Okafor does he ever?" Amara couldn't finish the sentence. Blessing understood. "No, he's not that kind of man. He's worse." "What do you mean?" "He doesn't see us as people. We're tools, furniture. As long as you do your job, he doesn't notice you. But if you make a mistake..." Blessing's voice dropped. "The last girl who broke one of his vases was sent away in the middle of the night. No one knows where she went." Amara felt a chill run down her spine. "Why do you stay?" she asked. Blessing looked at her with tired eyes. "Because I have nowhere else to go, same as you." 2 weeks passed before Amara saw Mr. Okafor again. Well, she was cleaning the study one afternoon when he walked in, phone pressed to his ear, talking in rapid Igbo. Amara froze, dustcloth in hand. He didn't look at her. He walked to his desk, still talking, and started shuffling through papers. Amara turned to leave quietly. "Wait." She stopped, heart pounding. Mr. Okafor ended the call and looked at her for the first time. His eyes were sharp, assessing. "What's your name?" "Amara, sir." "How old are you?" 22, sir." He studied her for a long moment, as if trying to place her face. Amara held her breath. Does he remember? But then he waved his hand dismissively. "Continue your work." He left the room. Amara exhaled, her hands trembling. He doesn't remember. He destroyed my family, and he doesn't even remember. That night, lying in her narrow bed, Amara stared at the ceiling and whispered a promise to herself. "I will make you remember, Mr. Okafor. I will make you remember everything." 3 weeks into her new life, Amara met the person who would change everything. Mr. Okafor had a daughter. Her name was Adana. She was 19, stunningly beautiful, and spoiled beyond measure. She had just returned from studying abroad in London and moved back into the mansion with enough luggage to fill an entire room. Adana treated the staff like they were invisible. She snapped her fingers when she wanted something. She threw tantrums when her food wasn't exactly how she liked it. She left clothes scattered across her room and expected Amara to clean up after her like a servant, which of course Amara was. "You," Adana said one morning, pointing at Amara without looking up from her phone. Bring me breakfast, in my room, now." Amara carried a tray upstairs. Toast, eggs, fresh juice, sliced fruit arranged perfectly. She knocked on Adana's door. "Come in." Amara entered. Adana was lying on her bed, scrolling through Instagram, wearing silk pajamas that probably cost more than Amara's entire wardrobe. Amara set the tray down carefully. "Is that all you brought?" Adana asked, still not looking up. "Yes, Ma." "I wanted yogurt." "I'm sorry, Ma, I'll bring it now." Adana finally looked at her. Her eyes were cold, bored. "What's your name again?" "Amara, Ma." "Amara," Adana repeated slowly, as if tasting the word. "Where are you from?" "Lagos, Ma." "Obviously, I mean, what part?" Amara hesitated. "Ajagunle, Ma." Adana's lip curled in disgust. "I see." She turned back to her phone, dismissing Amara with a flick of her hand. Amara left, her face burning with humiliation. 1 month into her life at the mansion, everything began to unravel. It started with a visitor. Amara was mopping the hallway one afternoon when the doorbell rang. Emeka, the driver, answered it. A man walked in, tall, well-dressed, mid-30s, with a confident smile. "Is Mr. Okafor home?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Please wait in the living room." The man sat down and Amara continued mopping, trying to be invisible, but he noticed her. "Excuse me," he called. Amara looked up. "Could you bring me some water?" "Yes, sir." She hurried to the kitchen, poured a glass of cold water, and brought it to him. He took it with a smile. "Thank you. What's your name?" "Amara, sir." "Amara," he repeated. "That's a beautiful name." She didn't respond. He studied her for a moment, his smile fading. "You look familiar." "Have we met before?" Amara's heart skipped. "No, sir." "Are you sure? I never forget a face." Before she could answer, Mr. Okafor entered the room. "Obinna," he said warmly, shaking the man's hand. "It's good to see you." "Chukwudi, my friend. It's been too long." The two men walked into the study, laughing. Amara stood frozen in the hallway, her mind racing. That man, she knew him too. He had been at her house years ago, sitting beside Mr. Okafor, smiling at her father. He was part of it. Part of the plan that destroyed her family. And now he was here. That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, her father's face flashing through her mind. She thought about the promises he had made, the dreams he had for her, the way he had looked at her the last time she saw him, in his eyes empty and broken. She thought about her mother collapsing in the market, dying alone because they couldn't afford proper medical care. She thought about Mr. Okafor living in this palace, surrounded by luxury, while her family rotted in poverty. And she made a decision. She would not stay silent. She would not be invisible. She would find a way to expose him, to destroy him the way he destroyed her father. But first, she needed proof. The next morning, Amara woke early before anyone else. She crept through the mansion, careful to avoid the security cameras. She needed to get into Mr. Okafor's study. She needed to find the contract, the one her father had signed, the one that had taken everything from them. If she could find it, if she could prove that Mr. Okafor had tricked her father, maybe she could take him to court. Or maybe she could get justice, but as she reached the study door, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned. Adana stood in the hallway, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. "What are you doing?" Amara's mind raced. I was told to clean the study, Ma." At 5 a.m.? Yes, Ma. Adana stepped closer, her eyes suspicious. You're lying. Amara's heart pounded. No, Ma, I'm going to tell my father. Please, Ma, I wasn't. Get out of my sight. Amara fled, her hands shaking. She had been so close, but now everything was about to fall apart.